All right, we're live, guys. Thank you all so much for joining me. Appreciate whoever's on YouTube, all the folks on YouTube, the folks over on Rumble. Whoa, I had the volume on my own channel. There we go. So, yeah, I want to appreciate you guys for joining this live stream. I haven't done a live stream in a while, so I appreciate it. Let me know down in the comments. Hey, Stray Kitten, how are you? I've seen some of your comments recently. Thanks for joining me. We're going to talk about we got some great stuff today. And a lot. We're going to get kind of deep into the weeds on a couple of things, but let's start off with some of the big news. There's a lot of big news going on, a lot of which we're going to cover. But Donald Trump struck a boat full of narco terrorists down in the ocean. I don't know if this was I don't know if this was if it was Navy, if it was Coast Guard. Generally, Coast Guard is the one doing interdictions like this. But you've got this boat full of MS-13 narco terrorists. And he gives the order, apparently directly from him, to blow it out of the water. And I think this speaks to a kind of a larger issue that we have going on in this country. It's yes, immigration. We talk about immigration all the time. But I think the immigration and the overall crime problem is why he's taken such drastic measures. And I put it in the thumbnail. Do you think this is us declaring war on cartels? Now, truth be told, in Venezuela, this is going to involve MS-13, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, those type of folks, and he's got agreements going on with the countries that house these people. But I think it's just him saying, no, this is no holds barred. If you're bringing drugs into this country, which by the way are killing over 100,000 people every year. If you bring drugs into this country, attempt to bring drugs into this country, we're going to respond in the most aggressive way possible. And I think that is the message that needs to be sent. Now, to the greater question, is this going to involve us in a war with the cartels or with other narco terrorists? I don't necessarily think so, but from the rhetoric I've heard from Donald Trump, he doesn't strike this from the list of possibilities. And personally, again, if you guys have been watching this channel for a while, you know that I came from the military. I've done multiple deployments, 3 to be exact. War really, really sucks. And if we're going to get into a war with narco terrorists, we're up against a multi-billion-dollar industry with very, very sophisticated equipment, knowledge of the terrain, all that sort of stuff. But I really think that this is more about the homeland than it is about reaching out and taking out MS-13 or Tren de Aragua. And I think I might have put MS-13 in the thumbnail when I should have put Tren de Aragua. So that may have been my mistake. Either way, I'll correct that one later on. I think that the crime problem in general, I've been sitting on panels and, Stray Kitten, who left a comment down here, she knows that I've been on with people like the Chicago Conservative and other folks talking about crime problems in leftist cities, in blue cities. And Chicago is one of them, but Memphis is another. I'm going to hit Chicago first. And I think I brought in the one on Memphis. Memphis is actually tops the crime list, has historically topped the crime list. And it doesn't get near the attention that Chicago does. And I think that's because the base in Memphis hasn't really become outspoken about it. People in Chicago have. People like the Chicago Conservative and the panels and tons of people. Chicago, there was an organization, Chicago Red. I guess it still exists, but it's kind of gotten, watered down by, I believe, Democrats, is my understanding. But nonetheless, there's people actually trying to fix it in Chicago. And I did some math. This was very interesting. I looked at the math of Chicago versus the global war on terror. Really, really crazy stuff. So, and this, I equated it to military deaths. So Chicago versus the U.S. military deaths. Fatal shootings, and this was from, I ran it from 2000. Granted, we weren't technically in the war in 2000, in the global war on terror, but I ran it from 2000 to 2025. And there were 9,933 fatal shootings in Chicago compared to, so that means 9,933 people lost their lives in Chicago compared to 7,000 in the global war on terror. That's 2,933 difference. And total shootings are obviously far, like that's different. And we have a whole structure that is set up when you're deployed to save lives. So, it doesn't necessarily equate 1-to-1, but the numbers are pretty staggering. And the per capita risk in Chicago, specifically in the more, I mean, they kind of honed this down. I used ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, but I used Grok to do this. The homicide rate of 1,200 per 100,000 was higher than U.S. soldiers in Afghanistan, which was 395 per 100,000, or Iraq, which was 330 per 100,000. And the difference that a lot of people make is that, okay, well, global war on terror, that involves, all the civilian casualties. And there were a lot in the 25 years, the over 20 years that we were in the global war on terror. But when you compare these things apples to apples, the numbers are absolutely staggering. And that's going on in America. And when you ask these people, like this alderman in Chicago, you ask them what the problem is and listen to how they deflect. This is very interesting. Very interesting.
Respond to the argument that there were something like 50 plus shootings, 52 people, I should say, were shot in Chicago, 30 different shootings over the holiday weekend, 7 people killed. Aren't numbers like that still a problem that your city needs to address? What more can be done to address that?
Well, I think that what we need to do is we also had a mass shooting in a Catholic school. We also have had many instances where the administration has really escalated, exacerbated the violence in our country, in our cities. Trump is a dictator. I think we got to be very clear. He's trying to normalize violence.
He's
trying to normalize military deployment.
There's the problem. 50 people shot. No, Trump is a dictator. Trump's trying to normalize violence. We'll get to what Brandon Johnson says, but I want to show some video from Memphis. This is in my state. I'm in Tennessee, and Tennessee is generally thought of as red country, and it really is. A lot of it really is. But in Tennessee, we've got a lot of blue areas. Nashville is turning into a blue area. We've got Memphis, which is entirely blue, and this is what's going on down in Memphis. Listen to this.
Don't do it, little bro. Let loose.
So here you've got gang violence, you've got shootings, you've got all this stuff going on. There was another one in, I forget which city it was, and all these people were hunkered down on a soccer field, junior high kids on a soccer field. And they're hearing gunfire. Everybody's freaking out. This is not the way Americans are supposed to live. And as opposed to doing something about it, the Democrats say, well, Donald Trump is normalizing violence. It's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump, right? It's always Donald Trump. And look, I'm going to play J.B. Pritzker. He had similar comments, and then I'm going to play Donald Trump, his response to this, what he says he's going to do in particular in Chicago. But listen to J.B. Pritzker. Here's what he says.
Here, people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
There's not a single person in Tennessee that would say, no, stay out of Memphis. Now, people in Memphis might push back a bit. But the overwhelming population in Tennessee says, yeah, if we've got a problem, bring it on, President Trump. Bring it on. But the thing is, we don't have those problems. It's isolated in a lot of red cities like Memphis, which is an anomaly in Tennessee. It is an absolute just look at an electoral map of Tennessee. But some of us don't even claim Memphis. They're like, that's technically not even like Tennessee, right? That's kind of the way we treat it. And so when asked about it, in particular, because for the reasons I mentioned before, Chicago is a big talking point. Here's what Donald Trump says. This was his take on Chicago. Here we go.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week, you know, it was like years, many years where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had last week, it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I say, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African-American, who were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care of it. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done.
And imagine that. You literally go to I think he's talking about Vladimir Putin and say, hey, everybody, talking to the press, we didn't have anybody shot in our capital. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, this is an accomplishment? No, people should be able to come to the Capitol, to the pinnacle of world power, right? That's what it's supposed to represent. And you should be able to go there and not worry about getting carjacked, not worry about getting stabbed. He fixed that. Now, I will say that this is how the left is going to push back. This is how they're going to push back on Trump. They've done it with, he's taking out Tren de Aragua. He's taking out MS-13. He's taking out all these dangerous gangs. And he's doing it because the cities where these people are going to traffic the drugs and the people and all of that, because human trafficking, we're the #1 customer of human trafficking. And they're coming to these places, but they can't handle anymore. So Trump is taking them out before they ever have a chance to get there in the bombing of that boat. But what's the Democrat response? Not, hey, this is good. We've got some support from the federal government. No, this is their response. This is what Brandon Johnson says.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land?
Sounds an awful lot like insurrection.
The people,
call me crazy,
united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
This is a mayor of a major metropolitan area urging people to basically defy the protection that's being sent there to root out the criminals. He's saying, no, defy them. And I have to ask, how many people, I would love your all's comments on this. Will Antifa be prepared? Will the Antifa people be prepared to shoot, maim, bomb, stab, bludgeon, whatever, the troops that Donald Trump sends into Chicago if he sends them there? Will they do the same in Baltimore? Will they do it in Memphis? Do you think that is a very real scenario? And let me know in the comments. If they're willing, my take on this is if these people are willing to conduct these crimes, carry out these crimes against their neighbors, they will have zero problem doing it to National Guard. This is a situation that is necessary, but could get very, very dicey very fast. And part of that's something I've brought up in the past when Donald Trump is bringing National Guard into these cities. If he does it to anymore, he says he's going to. But, the National Guard is going to be hamstrung. Any military personnel that go in there, they're going to be somewhat hamstrung. They aren't. I don't know what their rules of engagement are going to be, but this stands to be a potential massive incident in having U.S. troops in a violent confrontation with other U.S. citizens. The optics on that are never going to be good, especially with the mainstream media. The mainstream media has zero problem contorting things. In fact, I'm going to skip to briefly to the Kristi Noem interview. They will contort anything that they have to A, protect illegal immigrants, people that are not U.S. citizens, to do anything they can to let the violent crime continue so long as Donald Trump is the president of the United States, even to the point of lying to we the people, to deceiving we the people. Check this out.
And the one thing that we will continue to do is to make sure that he doesn't walk free in the United States of America. This individual was a known human smuggler, a MS-13 gang member, an individual who was a wife beater, and someone who was so perverted that he solicited nude photos from minors. And even his fellow human traffickers told him to knock it off. He was so sick in what he was doing and how he was treating small children. So he needs to never be in the United States of America, and our administration is making sure we're doing all that we can to bring him to justice.
So they shave out the part where, he's a terrorist, he's a pedo, he's this sick, depraved person. No. The fact remains he's just an illegal immigrant, and Donald Trump is evil for kicking him out. So let's go ahead and contort that view, that vision for the American people. Let's twist it up and tie it into a knot. Tell them what we want them to hear. Anything for political gain, right? And that's what Donald Trump is going to be up against. And that's what this whole process of cleaning up the cities is going to, that's the burden that's going to be on the administration, is Antifa, riled up Antifa people who don't care about law and order, who have got people, when they're prosecuted, they're going to be prosecuted in Chicago, they're going to be prosecuted in Memphis, in Baltimore, wherever it happens to be. And those people are friendly to those. So they know that they're not going to get the book thrown at them. There's a lot of risk involved in this one. But I still think that it's something that has to be done. And I believe this is why I'm strong on a castle clause, and I'm strong on, giving us the right to self-preservation. That's literally what this is. It's the right to self-preservation. And that is the Second Amendment. It's why we have it, and it's glorious. It's wonderful. And in Minnesota, this is the conversation they're having after a school shooting of a soft target where a deranged person went after these young kids. This is how the Minnesota governor is responding.
So we have had bans on assault weapons
Minneapolis
nationally
mayor.
Before. That ban then expired. And so it's not as if this is some unique thing that has never been tried. Other countries have had mass shootings. And then rather than sit on their hands, they have made the move to ban assault weapons so that kind of thing doesn't happen again. The only difference is we haven't made that move in decades. And so we're in the position to do it now. Are there logistics that need to be worked out just like any piece of legislation? Of course there are. Of course there are. But we got to have the argument, we got to take the necessary steps, and we're in the position now to act.
Can you be more specific about, assault weapon is a fairly arbitrary term that would need to be defined. You're talking about banning.
Here you go. Listen to him here he goes. Try to define what is an assault weapon,
Right.
Mr. Mayor.
Generally speaking, we're talking about guns and devices that are built to be assault weapons and or devices that are built to shift non-assault weapons to be able to reel off a whole bunch of bullets.
Can you define assault weapon? Well, it's anything that is turned into an assault weapon or could be turned into an assault weapon. You don't define something by using the term. But this is what they do. They have no idea what an assault weapon is. This is why the term is trash. It's not even a real term. And it's, it's an assault weapon. It's something that's used to assault, a weapon used to assault. And it's, if you could convert it into another assault weapon or something that isn't an assault.
All at once. And we've seen both of those in our city. We have seen the ability to simply attach a device to a non-assault weapon, and suddenly it is made into one that can reel off 30 rounds.
I could reel off 30 rounds with a pistol, by the way.
We're trying to prevent both of those things from happening.
So some models and also certain assaultive features.
That's correct.
Is there a state that a number of states have some sort of restriction or ban? Is there a state that you think Minnesota or maybe Moms Command has thought on this, like should model it after? Because they do.
Okay, I'm not gonna keep listening to this. They go into they're trying to get him to answer the question. He doesn't answer the question. This is why innocuous and vague definitions. Democrats, first off, that most of them aren't firearm owners. Let's just be honest. We all know that. We know that these aren't firearm owners. We know that they don't know what an assault weapon is. We know that a staffer got a memo from the DNC or from their party, whatever it is, and they said, here are the words. Here's what you're going to say. You speak this. Just repeat this. Stay on script. But at the end of the day, an armed society is a polite society, and the places where you see the most crime are not armed societies. There are exceptions, of course. I think Arkansas has pretty lax gun laws, but people like to bring up Little Rock, that Little Rock has a crime problem. True. You can bring up Memphis. Tennessee is a very gun-friendly place, and that Memphis has a crime problem. Absolutely. There are exceptions to every rule, but look at the majority of America. If you take out our top 5 most violent cities, we are one of the safest countries in the world. But it's places where Democrats are running things, where you have recidivism problems. Stray Kitten made a comment here, said a big problem is the courts that keep releasing criminals. Yes. You get DAs that are just, they feed this recidivism problem. And then they take away our right to self-preservation, our right to protect ourselves. That's what they're trying to do. And, I think it's funny, too, that the Democrats are always saying, well, Donald Trump is doing all of these things that are for the gun lobby. And all. We had a president, Democrat, not pro-gun, for 8 years. What did he do to take away guns? Nothing. You know why? Because, praise the Lord, we have an ironclad Second Amendment. That's just a fact, and that's the reason that they can't get anything done, and I'm thankful for that. Where I am in rural America, it's a very safe place, and everybody's packing. It's not totally rural, but it's a smaller town in America. And the threats aren't just from the gangs, right? The threats are coming from international organizations. This is in the Netherlands, and the reason I'm bringing this up in the Netherlands is because this is what we will face in places like Minneapolis, where there are massive Muslim populations. Listen to this guy. This is essentially a militia forming in the Netherlands. Nope, let's see if it's going to work. Oh, the X video player. I love Elon Musk. Well, I love X. But good gracious.
Others with the same mindset, the same goals, to be the best they can possibly be, physically, mentally, and spiritually, to get stronger with whatever they want. Calisthenics, wrestling, to get stronger in their deen as well. Brotherhood, we compete with each other to bring the best out of each other. Alhamdulillah, I'm saying this with chest, the army is growing, all by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We try to inspire the youth, even the elderly people, to reach their full potential. May Allah purify our intentions. Join the full force army, inshallah. We're gonna take over the world soon, inshallah.
Sounds good, right? We're trying to motivate people. We're doing all of this so that we can take over the world, because that's in their charter. That's in their ideology. And I've got a bajillion clips I can show you about this. But it's here already. These are threats that I'm telling you, the southern border has brought this on, and this attempt at multiculturalism has brought this on. And I'm going to define my version of multiculturalism, because some people take that the absolute wrong way. But listen to this. Annihilate the Jews and the Christians. Annihilate the Jews and their helpers, for they are no match for you. Count them, kill them one by one. This is in Louisiana, by the way. Don't spare a single one of them. There you go. This is what we've got to deal with. Why in the world do you need a firearm? Well, I don't know, because we are not at replacement rate. This country has been flooded with people who have values that are antithetical to everything that America stands for. And they're going to be a threat eventually. They're a threat now. We could talk about the trafficking that's been going on in that community. We could talk about the abductions. We could talk about the sexual assaults that have gone on in that world. These are problems that we have to deal with. And it's happening in red states too. So aside from crime problems, we've got calls to prayer going on in Minneapolis, the same place we were just referencing. We've got, violent extremists in the streets all over America. This is the kind of thing we're dealing with. Maybe we ought to start thinking about how to protect ourselves. Maybe we ought to start taking that a little more seriously. And, I also think that police training, I'm going to tack this one in there. This is, and I think I lost where'd the video go? Oh, it's fantastic. It's like, this is the kind of guy that we need. Where was it? I've got so many clips pulled up here. I hate that you're having to wait on this one. You guys probably saw the video. It's the cop who was obviously well-trained. Did I delete that clip? Surely I didn't. I hate when that happens. Well, I must have. Dadgummit. So it's the cop. You guys probably remember it years ago. There was a cop who, during a live shooting, let me see if I can find it on X, during an active shooter situation, and he took out that guy with one shot at 183 yards. Yard cop shot. Where is it? I know I can find it. X it's been getting pretty good. Yeah, here we go. Look at that. Got it right away. Let's pull this one up. This was in Glendale, Arizona. It's the... He's whistling, by the way. Oh, no. I think that somebody added that. So he sets his coffee down. You can hear the gunshots going off in the background. Whoever put the whistling over it, grow up. It's the Andy Griffith song. So he puts his coffee down. He stands up, raises his weapon.
Are those shots coming from the outside?
One shot.
I don't know.
X-ray 316, shot fires, suspects down.
That's the kind of training that we need. Okay. And that's part of our problem too. We aren't meeting the numbers for our police officers. We're wildly short on police officers. We don't have, the local governments are coming after them. They aren't standing up for them. So cops leave, cops retire, and we can't get new people to join. So police forces are unmanned or undermanned, and they're poorly trained because they're working overtime. They're working multiple shifts. It's a nightmare scenario for them. That guy knew his weapon. I hate that I pulled up the one where the guy was whistling. Oh, well, I'll get over it. But, so he pops up, sets down his coffee, picks up his AR-15, one shot, 183 yards, lays down a criminal. Technically, we should all be able to do that if we're a firearm owner. But we have to be prepared. I feel like Americans don't, they don't feel the need to prepare. We've lived such a cushy life for so long. You guys have heard the term that strong men make good times make weak men make bad times, and then the bad times make strong men. This is the cycle that we're in. We've come around to that. The good times make weak men. We are chock full. Our country is chock full of weak men, and there's people making valiant efforts to revitalize masculinity. But good gracious, when it comes to firearm ownership, millions upon millions. We got 400 million firearms. I don't even remember the number. You guys can remind me down in the comments. hundreds of millions of firearms, but they're in the hands of, a fraction of the U.S. population. And a lot of the people that have them, they don't know how to use them. And the Democrats are trying to take them away. It's really crazy. So I don't know. We'll see what Donald Trump's able to do. I think that him going after these cartels, first off, is huge. Let's see. Versus I was reading a comment here from Stray Kitten. Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about on that one. But anyway, we have threats from gang violence. We have threats from international terrorist organizations. We have threats from the cartels. We have to prepare ourselves, but Donald Trump is doing what he can in the interim. And I will end the talk about this crime problem with this video of Washington, D.C. before and after. So if you want to peek into what he could do in these other cities, this is the before and after. Somebody did a great video on this. Oh, wait, I got to mute this. I can't play that music. Otherwise, I'll get a copyright strike. Silly YouTube. So this is Washington, D.C. before, and this is Washington, same place now. It's cleaned up. People can live their lives. People can walk down the streets. You're not worried about getting carjacked. 0 homicides in 7 days, as if that, carjacking's down 83%, robbery down 40%, car theft down 21%. I mean, these are significant numbers. This is no joke. So you have to ask yourselves, and this is what we have to ask our Democrat friends, why are you fighting against that? Why exactly is that not on your list of positives under the Trump administration? I'm curious. Oh, and I was going to say trans violence too, but I won't get into that one because I've already delved into the whole trans violence thing enough in some of my previous videos. Let's see. Stray Kitten said there's a video of a cop that started shooting because acorns hitting. Oh, yes. Okay. I know exactly which one you're talking about. That's right. That's a training problem right there. These cops, they're so on edge. They're poorly trained. And then acorns fell out of a tree onto a car, and it was a female cop. She spun around and started shooting. Didn't know what she was shooting at, presumably her own car or whatever car the acorns hit. But that's a massive training problem. That's a massive training deficit. Okay, let's talk about. All right, let's go to some corrupt politicians. I always love talking about corrupt politicians because there are so many, and it's like content for days and days. Ilhan Omar here recently, she's one of the ones that she'll be like a Bernie Sanders, where she says, rail against the millionaires and the billionaires and all that, or railed against the millionaires until she becomes one. Now she's going to be saying billionaires. $30 million. Her net worth is now up to $30 million. That's 66,676% since she was first elected to Congress in 2019. Guys, I'm launching my campaign today. I'm going to go ahead and get in on some of this insider trading. I'll take donations. Good grief. These people getting filthy rich or expanding their wealth. It's not just this, she came from presumably nothing. She was a refugee in Somalia, which she should be thanking us for, but she hates us. And so we got her out of Somalia, brought her here to America. Now she's a socialist congresswoman, and she's expanded her wealth from nada to $30 million. Now, she's pulling a Nancy Pelosi, so I'm going to assume that she's the new version of Nancy, that, it's her husband. She says, "Oh, it's my husband doing it." It's that old chestnut, right? that old term. It's my husband who's making all the money, not me. And it's not just Democrats. I could pull up Dan Crenshaw. I've hit Dan Crenshaw in the past, figuratively speaking. Here you go, Marjorie Taylor Greene up 161%. It's good. She's looking pretty good. She bought in, her buy was back in April of 2025, and she's up 161%. Good job. Good job. Using those powerful positions on all those committees. Got to stuff them pockets, right? Now, I think she had money before she came into office. But, you got to grow that portfolio. It's all about that retirement plan, right? So aside from being corrupt, I have to point out, look, I'm before I move on to this next point, I am so in favor of this legislation that people try to get passed where you can't trade individual stocks. That's not saying you can't bet on America. You can, because that's exactly what buying if you buy an index fund of some sort, if you buy into the S&P, you put your money in a mutual fund and let it sit there for however long. You can stay in Congress for 50 years for all I care. Not really. I believe in term limits, but you stay in Congress for 50 years, that's fine. It grows with however your mutual fund grows, just like the rest of us. This trading of individual stocks, like Nancy Pelosi's husband buying Zoom right before the pandemic struck. Some Republicans did it too. They all got busted. But what happens when they file late, as an example? When they file late, they're supposed to file within, I believe, 90 days. Some of them get busted and they say, you filed at 150 days and you made your 340%. Well, they pay a $200 fine, and that's it. No, I believe that trading individual stocks needs to be cut off at the knees. Squash it completely. So, follow that stock trader, by the way, the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. It's an awesome account on X. So is Unusual Whales. They do a great job. Unusual Whales, they highlight these people. Now, the Nancy Pelosi stock tracker, they've actually got an app, and you have to be a big investor, so you got to have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. I think it's tens of thousands of dollars. 50,000 is the minimum to invest, and you can follow their stock trackers and follow their trades. And they post it all the time. People are following Nancy Pelosi or they're following Dan Crenshaw. They say, hey, I'm up 120%. I'm up 70%. I'm up 80%. So just because they can trade like that, they're kind of, sticking it to people, or not sticking it to them, but saying, well, if you can't be them, at least you can trade like them. That's their sort of thing. But let's talk a little bit about deception. And this is just really funny. I think it's funny because, Jasmine Crockett is... Oh, we all know what Jasmine Crockett is. She's an actor, much like AOC. Listen to the difference here. Somebody posted this video. This is on the left is her right when she was coming into Congress. On the right is her just a few days ago.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can all see what she's doing here. This is how fake politics. There's some real ones. There's some genuine people. Tim Burchett is one of my favorites. Tim Burchett is from Tennessee, is one of the most straightforward, honest people. Diana Harshbarger seems to be as well. She's my representative. But there's plenty of straightforward people out there. But the ones that get the most play, the ones that have a lot of pull, the ones that are really building their social media accounts, and that's why they're doing it, social media accounts to make money, these people are fake, wildly fake. And it's almost exclusively on the left. Almost exclusively on the left. But look at that. She's this articulate, bright girl who went to a $30,000 a year private school.
First of all, it's good to see you in the new year. No one could have told me that when I went down to Austin, now looks like a little bit over a year ago, that I would be running for Congress.
Baby, because these people, they are crazy, because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side.
This is it's like Hillary Clinton, when she used to try to do the long drawn out Southern accent, just fake people. Tell your Democrat friends to make sure to pay attention to that sort of stuff. I'm doing it. I'm like, oh yeah, genuine. They seem genuine here. Look at Jasmine Crockett. Oh, genuine here. Let me show you the video where they were casting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's seat. And they're all stinking socialists, every one of them. And they'll back, even though, look, do you think that de Blasio was a socialist? No. He was a left-wing dude, but now look at that. How quick will they jump on board with a stinking socialist.
The city of New York runs it just like we run so many other services. And the bottom line here is think about the free buses again. Free buses has been proven to work in many parts of the country.
Where?
I'll get your list of cities, but the bottom line is
where?
It is something that allows people to, one, reduce their costs, which people are overwhelmed by, to get into, just like we run so many other services.
Hang on.
And the bottom line here is think about the free buses again. Free buses has been proven to work in many parts of the country.
Where?
I'll get your list of cities, but
they didn't tell me where. They just told me to say that. So this guy's coming out and endorsing Mamdani, a socialist, saying, yeah, free buses will work. Yeah, free buses will work. The free grocery stores will work. Now, don't give me that nonsense. If any the trolls down in the comment section want to say, well, they only wanted to do one in each borough. Yeah, that's where it starts. It's funded by the taxpayers. Taxpayers aren't going to have the same access to it. It's going to be trash. It's going to run way over budget. It's going to cost them a fortune. And I think that free buses will too, because what are people going to do with free buses? The bums are going to get on them. They're going to sit on them all day because it doesn't cost anything. They're going to become dangerous. It's so predictable. You know exactly how this is going to happen. Exactly how it's going to happen. And they can sit there and say, Donald Trump, you stay away from our city. You stay away from our city. We don't want your help. We don't want your protection. And he says, all right, fine. I'll keep making the biggest drug bust in history. It's not Donald Trump doing it, but the U.S. Coast Guard just did. They just offloaded 76,000 pounds of illegal drugs in Florida. 76,000 pounds of illegal drugs. He says, well, you guys keep, we'll talk about this. We'll figure this out. I mean, we're coming to your city one way or another. But in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and keep getting these drugs. They busted so many people. 76,000 pounds of them, though. But they're I still think that this is it's interesting because I've made this point on Braver Than the Rest, the podcast, one of them that I sit on. Actually, we'll be on tomorrow. So if you want to watch it, Wednesday at 9 p.m. And we were talking about how the left used to be playing the long game. It was always playing the long game. And when Trump came along, he disrupted this whole system they had going. And it's like a guy that just came into the room and started kicking over chairs, throwing dishes off the wall, knocking holes in the drywall, just doing all this crazy stuff because he said, this place is rotten, this place is rotten. He started tearing it apart. And they freaked out and didn't know what to do about it. And they tried everything. They tried the lawsuits. They tried putting him in prison for 700 years or whatever he was going to get. And they just couldn't stop him. They were like, like what in the world? Why is this guy's like Teflon? Nothing sticks to this dude. And they haven't figured out how to readdress the problem, which is Trump. And I think the only way it is going to happen, they're going to continue to win in their blue cities, in the blue states, but in these red areas, people are becoming deeper and deeper and deeper red. A lot of people in the blue areas are leaving, and that's starting to rub off on them. Now, my hope is that we don't turn into a bunch of purple part of the country. We need to have our deep red and our deep blue. Because it needs to be the red area encroaching on the cities, not the blue areas encroaching on the red states and the red counties. But yeah, he's really shaking up the system, and he's like a bull in a china shop, and I love it. He's doing it, I believe, for the right reasons. Now, there's plenty of things that I can complain about Trump. I'm still ticked off that we haven't got the Epstein files. I'm ticked off that we still don't know anything about the guy that tried to shoot him. I'm still ticked off that we've kind of been lied to not lied to, but things haven't come as quickly as we were promised. I'm relatively happy with Kash Patel, but I think Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have been disappointments to me, in not in every respect, but in many of them. So we have plenty of gripes, plenty of complaints. I complained about the strike on Iran, and I still question whether that was the right thing to do. But nonetheless, when we look at how America is moving is it moving in the right direction? I feel like it is. I listened to a guy who was doing a live stream the other day, and he said, yeah, I live in California and things aren't exactly like my day-to-day life isn't improving. And I thought, well, we're 7 months into this, by the way, or 9 months. We're 9 months in, not even a year into this presidency. And things are happening, but we still have to have reasonable expectations. Is it going to turn on a dime? No, it's not. It's just not. we're turning around this monstrous ship of a country in what equates to a creek. I mean, it's a difficult process. And I feel like he's making moves, at least in a lot of the places where he said he was going to. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. If we get into mid-year next year and I'm still disappointed, I will make it abundantly clear to Lottie-Dottie everybody. Okay, yeah, Stray Kitty, you said she forgot where she came from. Yes, you are correct. I don't think, is she from Houston? I don't even know if she's actually from Houston or if she was a transplant. But she grew up in a cushy lifestyle. I mean, everybody knows that about her. She went to a private school. She was well educated, but she plays to this lowest common denominator, and that's not beneficial to anybody. I guess it's beneficial for trying to get votes, but good gracious. I mean, try to set a higher standard. That's what politicians used to do. All right, guys. Hey, thanks so much for the folks in the comments. I truly appreciate it. That's all I've got for tonight. If you don't mind, and you're here and you haven't subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is released. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate the interaction all over the internet. I'm sorry to my X people, because I will post this stuff on X, that I still can't live stream to X, and I do not know why. Anyway. Oh, okay. She's from Missouri. Okay. That's okay. Thanks, Stray Kitten. All right, guys. I will see you in the next video. God bless you. God bless America. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. I'll see you in the next one.